left home for a
Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about how useful it is to be open and honest about being in recovery. Should you tell your employer? What response can you expect? And is it ever a good idea to keep it a secret? Also, Martin and I reminisce about dentists. Truth. Good evening.
Good evening to you.
How's things?
Oh, yeah, not bad, mate. Yeah, not too bad, yeah. Yeah, how about you? You've been working hard all day.
I have been working hard all day, unlike you.
Unlike me, well, I've had a day off.
Yeah.
I've had several days off. Really. We're in lockdown. I'll take it seriously.
What have you been doing with your time?
Well, nothing much, really. I've had a tooth out, if that's any good to you, last week.
Did you do it by tying a piece of string and tying the other end to a door handle and doing it that way?
Oh, what sort of classic Tom and Jerry cartoon fashion?
Yeah.
No, I did it by the proper methods, went to the dentist.
Oh.
Which is a little bit of a strange experience under lockdown, but there we go.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a tooth out since I was a small child.
No, it's a long time since I have. It was a strange experience. I forgot. I didn't like these. I think the last time I had a tooth out as a child, and it had the old gas and air sort of thing in those days.
It was horrible, wasn't it?
Dreadful.
They used to put the gas thing over your nose, and they used to say, count to 10, and you'd start counting. You'd never make it to 10, would you? But the thing I can remember more than anything is the awful smell of it. Yeah,
it lives with you, doesn't it?
I can bring it back now. It's olfactory recall.
It's
what
horrible,
you call it, isn't it?
Well, I can still remember the sort of hallucinations I had, the dreams I was having under that gas.
I think that was drugs, Martin. I think that was drugs, Martin.
I think it started me going. I'm going to tell those dentists who are obviously long gone now, but they started my long road to addiction because I quite liked it.
Yeah, is that what we're talking about today? Dentistry?
No.
Well, why did you get us off talking about that then?
We just asked me how I was, and so I thought I'd bring you up to speed.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Just being friendly, really.
You don't have to mention speed as well. That's another one of those drugs you want to steer clear of.
Totally. And what I wanted to talk to you about is it's a point that often comes up in groups about whether we should tell people that we're an alcoholic or an addict.
Oh, yeah.
Or indeed, good. If you're in or say if you're in recovery or whatever, because it's quite difficult, and it's. I just wanted to chat with you about the issues that surrounding this, if that's all right, because it sort of leads on a little bit. Do you remember our Christmas episode? We did one, the Christmas Confessions. Yeah. We talked about that. We talked about that storyline in The Archers, didn't we? Where Alice confesses to her husband about her drinking problems.
Yeah.
It sort of, and also touches a little bit on that episode we did about Matthew Perry, who plays Chandler Bing.
Oh yes.
Yes,
Chandler Bing. That episode was the most popular episode of the year.
Was it? I mean, I look back at my notes because the working title I had for that, which I thought was rather clever at the time, it didn't make the cut, obviously, was the one who opens up, and it just went out as Chandler Bing in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
but it's I haven't really forgiven you for that.
Oh, well, you want to listen to last week's episode because that's all about forgiveness, so that'll probably help you.
Exactly. I did go back and have a look at my notes on that. So I've finally been able to let go of my simmering resentment. Although I think I actually had to have a little look at the Bible as well, where Jesus says, forgive them for they know not what they do.
Yeah.
Famous line, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is a famous line, but the only problem with that is I knew exactly what I was doing and I was quite happy with it.
I'm not talking about Jesus Navas either. I'm talking about the proper Jesus, the old ex-man. He's not with Man City anymore. I think he's gone to Sevilla, back to Sevilla or something, hasn't he?
Don't they? I think in his case it's pronounced Jesus, isn't it?
Yeah. But he's got Jesus written on his back on his shirt when he's running around the football field. And I always think it's a little bit disrespectful.
I can remember, just as a slight aside, when I was at school, we had a. I think, what did he teach? He might have been a physics teacher. We had a teacher, he was Canadian. I can't remember what his surname was, but there was a rumour went round that his first name was Jesus. I don't know where it came from. I think it was probably because he had quite a strong faith. He may even have worn one of those little crucifix lapel badges.
Ah, okay.
So that gave rise to a rumor that his first name was Jesus, which at the time didn't seem very funny, but now when I think about it, it's hilarious.
I remember just going back to school again. You've reminded me. I remember one of the kids in our class. He went up to the RE teacher, a religious education teacher, and said, "Sir, is it okay if I call my ferret Jesus?" All right. And the master wasn't all that pleased. He said, "No, it's a little bit blasphemous." But he said, "I don't think it's really befitting of our Lord." Anyway, you've dragged me off the subject again here. You've gone to a difficult area there.
All right, we'll try and get back on track with you. Come on.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah. So it's this about, which you'll be telling people. It's a point that comes up with those just going into recovery mostly.
Yeah.
Because obviously, whilst you're in active addiction, so the last thing you want to do is to tell anyone you've got an issue. We fiercely defend our drink and our drugs or our unhealthy relationship with the pair of them. So it's the last thing we want to do. But I suppose when you go into recovery, and it does tend to get dictated by the circumstances surrounding the individual, doesn't it? I mean, the discussions are normally about what comes up mostly is whether they should tell their employer.
Yeah, I suppose that's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one because there are two issues there, aren't there? There's one about am I going to be judged? And there's the other one, the more kind of practical one about, is this going to affect my, future prospect?
It is. I mean, we come across it a lot. Some employers now are very much up to speed with the issues. Some of they can be very supportive. Especially the sort of the local authorities and some of the some of the larger employees. But I've got larger employers. But on my notes, I've made a bit of a mistake. I've got a bit of a drink and rug situation here because I've put local authorities and lager employers. I really want to proofread this before I get onto recording it.
Well, I mean, I think actually that's probably quite true because I imagine lager employers wouldn't be bothered about people having a drink problem at all, would they? In fact, they probably positively encourage it.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, I remember my ex-father-in-law, he used to work for a brewery. He was on the old drays, where they used to take, back in the days when they had horse and cart drays.
Yeah. Did he have a pint in every pub?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was, and he still likes to drink to this day. But that was very much the norm. It was. So they probably would be. They would condone your behaviour totally, wouldn't they? If they were a lager employer. Yeah.
It's interesting. So local authorities are supportive. Lager employees are supportive. Employers are supportive. What about other people?
Well, we found supermarkets. Funnily enough, the bigger supermarkets
are quite supportive.
They tend to have a policy in place.
Give you a discount.
They give people time. They keep them away. They don't let them work. Don't let to go to work on the spirits, the wine and spirits aisle. But they certainly have. They're very responsible. No, they are honestly. They allow time off for detox and a bit of rehab and that sort of thing. And they seem to be quite up to speed with it all, which I'm really pleased about because they are still judgmental. You're right. You hit upon that. And it was in my notes on that, I think more work needs to be done in that area with employers because it is still very much rather than it be seen as a condition which you're unfortunate to have, it is still seen as a bit of a moral malaise and it can have that effect. There's still the shame that's attached to it.
I think what's difficult about that is if you think about what it's like to tell any employer that you have any sort of issue of that ilk. So even when you think about sort of broad mental health issues, it's not knowing how your employer is going to react. But there's also, as you just touched upon there's the way you feel about it, your own feelings of, shame or guilt or whatever it is. And you put those two things together and it does create a very compelling argument for keeping stum.
And that's normally what happens. It is normally what happens. It's kept stum, and it's an extra hurdle. That's the only thing in the way. It's an extra emotional wrinkle when people are trying to get their recovery under wraps, especially if they get invited to Christmas parties, as you can imagine, or outings with their company. Then it can be a bit tricky. but you can negotiate those particular problems.
Have you found in your sort of anecdotally or in your research, have you found examples of any employers that are at the other end of the scale that have treated the situation or the person very negatively?
No, I haven't actually. No,
that's quite interesting, isn't it? Because it's not surprising, but I think it's worth bearing in mind, isn't it, that apart from anything else, an employer worth their salt really couldn't afford to discriminate against someone who'd come forward with a problem like that. They'd had the courage to go to you and say,
that's the thing. I mean, it's a different matter if they're drinking at work and they're getting themselves into problems. But certainly in recovery, it should be applauded. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I mean, I have, and I won't mention names obviously, but I have been on 2 occasions. I've been into employers to speak with them. With their employer, they've spoken. It's people I've known that are employers and said, "Can you, we want to chat with this person because they got this issue. Can you come in?" And so, yeah, I've done that on a couple of occasions. And I think so. Generally, I think employers are becoming more aware of it and more responsible towards.
Well, I know you can't name names, but were those 2 employers lager employers?
No, they were sort of they're medium-sized employers, if you like.
Shorts, as it were.
I don't want to take that analogy any further. It's not helping. It really isn't helping.
No, okay.
But I think at the end of the day, it is our own business, isn't it? It is our own business. But I've always been very open about it, and I've always encouraged others to do the same. I mean, I don't mean being evangelical about it and sort of running up to strangers with I'm an addict, a t-shirt on, but being open with it. I've found there's a lot of advantages, and I wanted to go through some of the reasons why I feel, or that sort of impelled me to make the decision I did, would to go public on it straight away with everyone I knew.
Yeah,
because I suddenly found that the support available when you're open, with those around. It's not just the recovery communities. And support groups like the fellowships and Aspire, but generally our immediate circle. I found a great response. Everyone was really supportive and really wanted to help because they felt they knew I had a problem, and the fact something was being done about it, they wanted to get on board with it. So I found it. If I'd have kept it to myself, it would have been. I wouldn't have had that support.
But was it difficult to decide to be like that? Do you find it difficult to make that decision?
Yeah, I did initially. The first, when I was away in detox, it's one of the things they talk to you about it. And I was thinking, no, I'm not telling anyone. I'm just going to plough my own furrow. I'm a private person. I don't want anyone to know. But as my addiction came under control and I was able to have a clearer head, I felt, actually, I started to feel a little bit proud of myself.
Yeah.
Which was a really alien feeling after being so many years in addiction. I started to feel quite proud. So I did talk to people about it. And I always found myself offering that up front to people straight away, especially if people I knew that hadn't seen me for a while, perhaps. Or because I remember I was about a month into recovery and I went into this local supermarket where I lived and someone was saying, "Have you been away on holiday? You look really good. What's happened?" And I said, "No, I've just stopped drinking." And it was that sort of response that it really encouraged me to continue to be open.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how non-judgmental people are. And wanted to congratulate you, but if there was anything they could do to help you battle your demons.
Yeah.
I mean, and also found that they naturally would then adjust things accordingly. We've talked about it before, but avoiding alcohol in food if you're around theirs, or making sure soft drinks are available. It became something that they catered for. A lot of people wouldn't drink around me. And at dinner parties, if I went to dinner parties, that suddenly people become generally interested in my situation. And my fear of becoming boring at that point was certainly unfounded. I was absolute life and soul of the party. I couldn't believe it.
I've never experienced your fear of being boring as unfounded at all. I've always found it's absolutely spot on.
I I thought when I was drunk all the time, I was being a proper witty, charming chap, but it was a long way from the truth. I wasn't, but I soon found that I was as soon as I got into sobriety. So I'm, as you know me now, I'm an absolute delight to be around.
Yeah, I mean, you're certainly, since sobriety began, delusion has increased as well.
One of the other reasons I felt that it was wise to open up, and it was something that came in after I've been in recovery for 2 or 3 weeks, really, is that I found that it was almost like if I didn't tell people, I was leaving the door ajar back to my old habits. For me, it sort of built a wall between myself and my old habits. I didn't want to let people down that have been so nice to me and so helpful to me. It was a real motivation. Once it was out there, I wanted to, I didn't want to let certainly myself down, but I didn't want to let other people down. I just thought, this is, I'm on a journey now. And I know you love that word.
I'm on a journey
now.
You love Journey, the American rock band.
So, was you going to say something serious at that point or not?
Yeah, I was. I was going to say, I think that's a really important one for any change that we make. So obviously you're talking about a change from being in active addiction into sobriety, but whenever you change something, when you tell people about it, you really do cement that change, because there is that added incentive to, as you say, not let yourself down, but also you don't want to disappoint the people you've told. Even with simple things like overcoming procrastination, if you procrastinate over something, tell someone you're going to do it, or get someone involved and make a commitment to them, because it's much easier sometimes for us to do something because we know we need to do it in order to avoid letting someone else down than it is if we're just kind of left to it ourselves. And I think the other thing that's important is when you are constantly telling someone about something, so you're constantly telling someone that you're in recovery, that you're not drinking anymore, you're also the person who hears it more than anyone else is you. It's like you're constantly hearing yourself reiterate a truth to yourself. I'm not drinking anymore. I don't drink anymore. I had a problem with drink and I've stopped. It's like a constant repeating narrative. And the more we tell ourselves things, the more they cement in our conscious and unconscious mind. So there's something very powerful about that as well.
I mean, do you find, people that come to see you, that there's a stigma around people going to get therapy? And, would they tell other people they're in therapy? I doubt it, do they?
No, again, it's some and some. Some people prevaricate over that for a long time and find it very, very difficult. In fact, it's one of the reasons why sometimes people will get into therapy. They don't necessarily have a terribly productive relationship with their therapist, but they stick with them because they can't face going through the rigmarole of doing it all again. But then that's one end of the scale. But the other end of the scale are people who become evangelical about the process of therapy and what they get from it, and then they'll quite happily tell other people that they're doing therapy. So when someone takes themselves into therapy, they're taking action. That's important.
Yeah, I like that distinction you're drawing there between awareness and actually putting things into action. Because I think it is. Once you do start to walk down that road, when you are doing, the pride that you feel and the pride that you get, I think is immense. But I remember it bringing me a great freedom when I started to tell people as well, because lying had been a hallmark of my addiction, as it is with all addicts. Yeah. And to continue to not be honest for me was again would take me back to my old habits, and I wanted to take a real holistic view of my of my problems. And I think by not telling people, I wasn't going to be able to do that properly. Mm-hmm. Also, to a large extent, perhaps the recovery community can be a little bit of got to take a share of some of the blame, really, because everything is Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous. Do you know what I mean? And it's almost a shame. It's almost a shameful thing to go to one of these meetings. And the anonymity part of it is very important because everyone has the right to say, to tell people or not. But I think that just that label sometimes gives it this almost murky feel to it. Do you agree?
Yeah, I suppose so. Although I suppose the other way of looking at that would be to say, the organisations themselves, if you call an organisation Alcoholics Anonymous, what you're really doing is you're saying, as an organisation, we are not going to talk about you. So they're kind of creating a safe space. So I think it depends which direction you're looking at it from. It's not for an organisation to tell anybody what's going on, but you might feel that it's an important part of your, almost use the word journey there, but I stopped myself. You might feel it's an important part of your recovery to talk about it. And it's really difficult to think of any situation where it's anything other than positive, really. The more I'm thinking about it, I think there are situations where people's reluctance to talk about it can sometimes be indicative of their own difficulty in coming to terms with it. It's not that they're in denial. It's not that it's not even necessarily that it's just about the shame that they feel, but I think sometimes it's about people getting to the point where they are able to accept that in themselves. It's very difficult to talk about something with someone else if we can't acknowledge it to ourselves. And I think I've certainly seen that happen. And I think that sometimes is something that kind of needs additional work before people can get to that point.
And what about it if we let something define us? Obviously my alcoholism was very much it very much defined me when I was still drinking.
Yeah, I think, again, and we've kind of touched on this in the past, I think when you get to the point where you feel as if something defines you, it's important to recognise that might only be your opinion. In your case, for people that have known you for any length of time, obviously some people may see you, it may define you like that as a recovering alcoholic, because that's the only situation in which they've known you. But people who've known you a long time, like me, I said this to you before when we talked about it, there would never have been a point in my relationship with you where that's the way I would have defined you. Right. I would have said, there would have been times where I could acknowledge that you're an alcoholic, but it's not the way that I think about you. So, no. So I think it's important to recognise there is always going to be a difference between the way you define yourself and the way other people see you. And I think what we have to do is we have to be careful not to make assumptions about the way that other people see us.
Yeah, I suppose that
you see yourself as quite interesting, and I see you as very, very boring. So, well, there is. I see you as a necessary evil to get these podcasts going. But there we go. But I think just sort of wrapping this up, I think anonymity is a real is a necessity. Certainly in the area of recovery, but then there's discretion, to whether you give that information to other people or not. But a further layer as to which people you tell as well. So that's very important. That's very important.
Yeah, you're right. And I remember when I'd 4 months into my recovery, and I told someone at one point, I said, I haven't had a drink for 4 months now. They said, oh, is that all? And at that time, it was the biggest battle that I'd had to date, and it was completely quashed and demeaned. And I thought, well, I'm not really sure I like you as a person, And so I was a little bit guarded about who I told after that. But generally speaking, I still am very open about it. But anyway, I've come to the end of my notes.
Good. So, well, I haven't got any notes as usual.
No, quite. So it's just really down to when I was researching these bits and putting these notes together, it didn't start off anything like this. I was doing something completely different. I was doing something on, of recognising people in strange places. That's how I started. In my mind, I was starting off like that. If you suddenly see someone in an awkward place, for example, or you didn't expect them to be there. And so I've got notes on that to come on to, because I want to bring that into to another episode. But what I did find out, what I did find out was, so what I have learned this week is that there's this condition called prosopagnosia. Have you ever heard of that before?
No.
Prosopagnosia. It's face blindness. Where people can't recognise other people.
That is interesting.
It's an interest. I didn't know there was such a such a condition. But it can either be you can be born with that condition, or it can be brought on in later stages, often with brain damage or forms of dementia. As we know, people start to not recognise people. So
I think Stephen Fry has it.
Does he?
I think so. I can seem to remember hearing a program on the radio now as you're talking about it, where he was being interviewed about it. It might have been the program that Hannah Fry does. I'll have to have a look for that now, but that is quite interesting.
Yeah, well, I wish I had some of that prosopagnosia, so I don't have to talk to you, because I don't want to recognise you. It scares me. But I suppose it's also like, sometimes I can see people and automatically see them as someone else, as like a famous person.
I sometimes see you and recognise you as Boise from Only Fools and Horses.
Steady, Marlene. I could have said something about what you remind me of then, but it wouldn't. It's not podcastable.
Go on then. What guilty pleasure? We're still doing this, are we?
Well, yeah. Well, I've got a Spotify playlist with all my guilty pleasures on there.
Have you? What's on it this week? Is it Bing Crosby or someone? No,
it's not. It's actually Dead or Alive. You Spin Me Round.
You can't like that. It's nonsense. You can't possibly like that.
I love it. I've actually got the 12-inch single of it. But I remember at the time,
I want to see the 12-inch single. Not now.
Right. Well, yeah, but I can.
Actually, you could get it now because presumably it's just filed under D.
It's under D, but they're all in boxes at the moment. I haven't got them out, my vinyls. So
that's very convenient, isn't it? Very convenient.
I can send you a picture of it if you're that concerned about it.
I am, and then I can send you a picture of my copy of Kiss, the Elder on a picture disc. How about that?
No, I'm not interested. But is that your guilty pleasure then?
No, my guilty pleasure this week is actually a cover of a Blondie song, but I can't remember what it was. And I thought, this is really good. It turned out it's by Miley Cyrus.
Oh.
So how about that? That's quite guilty, isn't it?
No.
Oh. No?
No, Miley Cyrus is in recovery. She's an absolute diamond.
So if someone's in recovery, they can't be a guilty pleasure. Is that what you're telling me?
No, all of a sudden they become heroes or heroines of mine.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a bit blanket, isn't it? Really,
it's a little bit blanket, isn't it? That's good. That's good because I'm now going to trawl the internet for someone that you have now defined as a hero of yours.
Yeah.
That I'm going to confront you with, and we'll see how that resolve stands up to scrutiny. Okay. Adolf Hitler, he was in recovery.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. I can categorically state that. Anyway, you've banged on enough now.
Yeah, I've got to go and have some tea now, I think.
Good work. Yeah, I've got to go on to a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, well, West Ham are playing Stockport this evening.
They are. I mean, it's such a banana skin. Having watched Crawley absolutely give Leeds a pasting at the weekend.
Yeah.
It worry. But West Ham in the cup is always a worry, isn't it?
Sometimes I have nightmares about that Ian Dowie own goal against Stockport in the mid-90s.
Well, I expect he is now because every newspaper is talking about it at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah. After we finished, I'm going to go on YouTube and have a look at it again.
It was horrific, but I think it was his first goal for about a year. He was a main striker who didn't bother to score goals, and then he scored an own goal. Which was quite a good header, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of the best things I ever read about Ian Dowie, which is very disparaging but very, very funny, was someone had written Ian Dowie, a striker with a face like the smell of gas.
Yeah, you'd certainly recognise him, wouldn't you? You wouldn't, even if you had prosopagnosia to the highest degree, the highest level, you'd still, yes, Ian Dowie.
Yeah, all right, okay. I'll talk to you later then.
Will do, mate.
Later.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye. Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work, visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, and you can email us to let us know what you think of the show and with anything else you want to ask us. You can also find us on Facebook at Sideways Podcast. Finally, we want to thank you for listening and ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.
Somewhere